Good roping horse going with it. The horse itself. What kind of horse was it out here in the 1840s, 1830s? It was what we call today the American Mustang. Back then it was called a mestino, a wild horse, an untamed horse. What kind of bloodline did that horse come from? It came from Spain. The first horse that came out here in America was about 1493 on the second voyage with Columbus. They started from Spain, got into Spain, to Cuba, to the Canary Islands, into Veracruz, and worked their way up north. These horses, their bloodline came from Spain, the Spanish Andalusian. It was a strong horse, it was a beautiful horse, it had spots, it was strong, it was intelligent, and it was mixed with the Moorish North African barb, which was good for stamina, elegance, and a whole bit. You mixed the two horses, you had the perfect desert horse that could survive again. It's like the cattle. The horses were bred to adapt to the environment, which, you know, dry land, desert, they can live off anything. Stamina, strong. This is the type of horses they had out here. Very strong animals. There's some places in Oklahoma and other states that are trying to reintroduce the Spanish barb again, which I hope will expand and they'll have a big breed of those horses at some point. Our cattle. Spanish mestino, Spanish Mustang horse, Spanish barb, was not a big horse. It was only about 14 hands. It could weigh anywhere from 725 to 800 pounds. Now, when you're going out and trying to catch a wild steer out here, these steers weighed anywhere from 12 to 1,400 pounds. So you had close to a 400 to 600 pound difference. And these cattle, they were wild. And they could be very dangerous. So a man and a horse had to bond together in order to work together, because if they didn't work together, you would have a serious accident. The rider, the horse, and the steer itself could get injured. A broken leg, a broken neck, injuries. You didn't want that. So it's just giving you an idea how intelligent horses were. They would have to be able to be precise when that Vaquero roped that steer, pulled on him. That steer decided he wanted to charge into the horse and rider. You had to make some quick decisions. Either let go of that rope. A lot of times you couldn't do that. You would have to cut the rope with the shield. I'm not going to use it as a wrestle. It's used as a tool to cut that rope. Again, they wreck that cattle with that steer. The last thing you want to do is injure that steer or injure the horse or injure yourself. So you have to be very precise. You have to be worried. You have to make quick decisions. You have to make sure you got that steer. Is anybody having trouble hearing me? So it was pretty well a 7-day work week. There was really no rest, because you had only, this ranch alone at one time you had 10,000 head of cattle in the 1840s. That's a lot of beef. That's a lot of beef on the hoof. That's a lot of time consumption you have to take in there with that animal. So you had to be on call 24/7 out there, especially during the springtime when they had the roundups, the rodeo, where they gathered all the herds together from the different ranches to brand. Because by springtime you had all these brand new calves that were born, and you had to get them branded. Trying to separate them from the mothers, that was really a battle. You know, that's where you had a lot of your horse wrecks, because mom was getting mad when you take the kids away from them. And they're going to fight you. Like again, you have a 1,200 pound horse, or a 1,200 pound steer or cow coming at you on a 700 to 800 pound horse and a 120, 140 pound man. Not much of a match. So you had to be quick to be able to throw that rope and throw them down. That's why you usually had a team of Vaqueros, anywhere from 2 to 3 cowboys taking down a steer at a time. Speaking of battles, we're going to be doing this why raise cattle on a ranch in California? Big money. The only export that California really had was the steers, the cattle. This is the normal size steer hide. We would trade it to the Yankee ships and the British ships coming in to trade. This hide, the Yankees and the British called it the California banknotes. The Vaqueros called Vaca de Plata, the silver cow. It was equivalent, this hide was equivalent to 1 to 3 pesos at that time in the 1840s. Big money there. Okay, so what do the Yankees and the British want? With leather, with cowhides. Especially in the United States and New England, the port of Boston, they had all kinds of factories. Everybody needed shoes, like we do today. It hasn't quit. We still need shoes around the world. Leather was used to make shoes, belts, bags, luggage. Here on the rancho, your saddles, your horse gear, your ropes, everything's made out of cowhide. Our milpas, which are chaps or chiefs, as they call them today, the coat, everything is made out of cowhide. They didn't have Home Depot back then, in those days. So everything had to be made on the ranch. Again, like I said, these ranches were working communities. Everything had to be done and made on the rancho. It's very time consuming. It would take, what they usually with this riata, the average riata would go anywhere from maybe 60 to 100 feet. And the purpose of that, because they were out in the open range and they were pretty well have to chase down that steer or that bull or that cow. Who's been to a modern day rodeo? Anybody? If you notice, you're in an arena, a little small arena. When they rope that steer, it's a small little steer, weighs probably maybe 400 pounds compared to a 1,200 pound steer back then. And you're in a small little area. Back then, you're in an open range. The steer didn't want to get a rope, he'd run away from you. You had to really pretty well bolt and get him and rope him down. And then once you caught him, then what do you do with him then? Because he'll fight you. So that's when another vaquero would have to come in. You had your head, the header, and the heeler. Bring him down, tire him out, and then drag him back to the area where you needed to brand him or whatever. It was not an easy job. But these guys loved it. It was an art. It was an art form. It was a skill. It was a sport. It wasn't made for everybody. And to imagine trying to rope a 1,400-pound bull, they had to do that too. They had to separate the bulls from the cows and the calves. That was a dangerous process in itself. But imagine an 800-pound Mustang horse going against a 1,600-pound grizzly bear. Can you even imagine that? This gives you an idea how skilled these vaqueros and these horses work, because the natural instinct of a horse is to flee, not to pursue. But they had them so well trained that you could get anywhere from 3 to 4 vaqueros and their horses and go after a grizzly bear and actually tackle him, get him down, tied down, and drag him miles away from the foothills and bring him back to the arena alive. Can you even imagine that? It just gives you an idea how beautiful these horses were able to. They would do anything for the rider. They had that bond with them. It's a beautiful thing to see that. Later on, after the talk, I'd like everybody to kind of come up here and look around and show you basically the items that they had. Getting back to the cowhide that was used as a trade item for the Yankees and the British. Everything was used. The hide for the leather and all that. But they saved the fat. The tallow, do you know what that was used for? So the fat, they saved that. They ship it off in the Yankee ships and the British ships too. They took that. Fat, tallow, make soap.